Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of 95X Live. It's Dixon, and today I am here with multi-platinum drummer from the band Shinedown, Barry Kerch. How are you today, sir?
Dixon, I'm well. How about yourself?
Fantastic. We're winding summer down, and we're doing so in your world with the release of a third hot sauce in a series of three. It's called Attention Attention. It's a mango habanero sauce. And man, after the success you've had with the band this year, to have additional success in such a different field, it's got to be a pretty great 2024 for you.
So far, so good. I'm not complaining. It's been a lot of work and a lot of labor of love. So, with the success of Symptom keeping us going and seeing the rise of that was just amazing, honestly. And to be able to do a passion project like this that I've been a hot sauce nerd my whole life. I absolutely love hot sauces and been a collector. I've made my own, for like Christmas presents and things like that my whole life. I grow peppers in my garden. This was definitely a passion project and exciting to give to the fans. I didn't want to put a Shinedown's name on something that's just, oh, here's a generic sauce, put your name on it and sell it. It wasn't that. It was, hey, I want to really make something special that speaks to me that I'm happy to share with my fans.
That's awesome, man. And given the quality control that Shinedown has had for well over 2 decades now, it doesn't surprise me that that also transfers over into the bottled hot sauce world. I know that you guys are very protective and rightfully so of what you've accomplished. I don't think I need to say congratulations because you guys have earned it in spades with hard work over the years. My question to you, though, is not music related. Because I remember the first time my brain went, oh, hot sauce is delicious and not something to be afraid of. Did you ever have a moment in your younger days that you can remember being like, okay, I like this and I like it enough that I want to explore this world?
Vividly. So my family is from Wisconsin, meat and potatoes. I grew up as a military brat in Florida. So I'm a Floridian. I've been in Florida since I was 5 years old. And, we didn't live on base. I grew up in Panama City, Florida, but a lot of military lived around us. And the woman across the street, she was Thai and shared Thai food with us and all these other things. But the thing that got me was my grandmother had come to visit, and she was originally from Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, grew up in Slidell, Louisiana. So she's very Southern Creole, and she wanted oysters. And so we got oysters, and we're gonna steam some, and we're gonna eat them raw. And this is the first time for me to try a raw oyster. Put it in my mouth, couldn't handle it. It's too much. I'm probably, I think 9 years old at the time. And she, no, come here. And she was just a funny woman. God, I miss her. She put Tabasco on there, and I ate it. And, as generic now that Tabasco is, it changed my life. All of a sudden, my taste buds opened up, and that oyster slid down like nobody's business, and I was hooked. It was Tabasco that got me started.
And there's nothing wrong with Tabasco, man. I mean, there's a whole style of pepper that,
Still in my fridge. I love it.
yeah, especially the green Tabasco for me and the
Yeah.
Cholula green are my two go-tos for like every meal, whether it's eggs or a burger or chicken of some sort. Like that's just my everyday sauce is
It's
the green
great.
Tabasco.
And I think that there's so many great sauces out there. If you looked at my fridge, half of my fridge is just sauces. And yes, the Shinedown in there are in there, and a lot of the Torchbearer sauces from this wonderful relationship with Torchbearer. But even on our rider on the road, it says on the rider, bottle of local hot sauce. And so every once in a while in the dressing room, I get something really cool to try, and I absolutely love it. It's an addiction, and there's so much good out there. And the OGs, the Tabascos, the Franks, the Louisiana, they're still here for a reason. They're a good hot sauce.
Hey, listen, you're looking at a guy that buys the big bottle of Crystal at least once a month.
I'm not mad at you. I might prefer that more on an oyster now than I do Tabasco.
And for me, it's better than Frank's for wings.
I've never done wings with Crystal, but that sounds really good.
There's a roundness to the overall sauce that you lose with the
Oh,
modern take on Frank's, in my opinion.
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
There you go, my man. Let's
Half
talk about
Crystal, half mango habanero.
let's talk about the other two, right? Because the new one's called Attention Attention. It's your Mango Habanero. It's the third in a line. The first being Symptom Chipotle Garlic, which is a flavor combination that is to not be denied. It's probably one of my
Wow.
favorites. Anytime you add garlic to peppers, it's a win. The second sauce was called Devour Pineapple Jerk. This new one is the Mango Habanero. And now that you've told me a little bit about your past, Florida, Creole grandmother, I understand the second two flavor profiles a lot more.
Yeah, it was intentional because when we partnered up with Torchbearer approached the label, said, "Hey, is there any of your artists that would maybe want to do a collab?" And it came to us, and I was like, "Yes, I'm your guy," because I'm so excited. You know, I'm such a hot sauce guy. And when we started the initial talks back and forth between myself and Vid, their main guy, we were talking about flavor profiles. I'm like, "Well, I'm from Florida. These are the things I like, and these are what I'm into." And he's like, "Well, these are the things I've tried, and these are what I'm into." And then we just started going back and forth with these flavor profiles. And then he started sending some samples like, well, we put this together. What do you think about this? And we talk about texture and things I didn't think about, like mouthfeel and thickeners. They use arrowroot as their thickener. And oh, this one's too thick. Maybe we need to make this one a little bit thicker, which was, being somebody who just makes it at the house, you're not going to really, you're just making hot sauce, right? So that was kind of cool to see on the bigger level, somebody who has a factory and is making them there. Albeit a smaller factory, it's kind of cool to go through that and learn that side of things. But these were very much intentional. I love being a Floridian, even though I grew up in North Florida. North Florida is very different from South Florida. But I went to college in Orlando, which is a massive melting pot. And then you start getting all the Caribbean foods and you start getting the Cuban and the Puerto Rican foods and all of those things. And it's like, this is a whole nother world. This is amazing. So those things were really important to me. And that's why we ended up doing a jerk, because I love jerk foods. And it's almost native to Florida as much as the Caribbean than native to South Florida. It's been here forever. So very much intentional with all of these.
Very cool. Where on the spice sort of timeline do you find yourself maxing out? Because as I've gotten older, I've realized that I can't go full bore anymore. I've got to find that thing that excites my mouth but doesn't destroy the rest of me. Are you
Right.
in a similar situation? Do you have a higher tolerance?
I still have a high tolerance, but it is getting to me. The acid reflux is a real thing. And so I have to prep. If I know I'm gonna tear myself up, there's gonna be some extra Prilosec and some extra Tums, and yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I've made a coating to help me through it. As a younger kid, I never had to do that. I could eat anything; it would have been fine. But I still have that tolerance. It's funny. Two quick stories. One was when I finally went to Torchbearer and we were making two batches of the Attention Tension sauce. We decided to do like a hot ones tasting with some tortilla chips, and we were going through and we are tasting the sauces, and we did our sauces and some of their hotter ones and their flagship one. And they have their flagship is called Zombie Apocalypse, which was on hot ones, and it's spicy. It's not the top, but it's up there in the top four. And so we did that. And he's like, "Oh, you got to try the 20th anniversary. This one's hotter." I'm like, "Okay, great." So we try that. I'm like, "Whew, okay, I'm fine." And then Ben, his partner, they formed it. These two guys formed it as high school buddies or college buddies, excuse me. They were college buddies that just made really hot foods to mess with their friends, and it expanded in this. He comes out from the back as he was working on making the sauce. He's like, "You've got to try my tincture. You have to try it, my extract." I'm like, Ben, I don't think I want to try this." He said, "No, you have to." I said, I really, really don't want to." He said, "Oh, come on." And it was I felt like it was a 5-year-old kid looking at me pouting, and I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." And so he goes, runs to the office like a school kid, comes back, and he's got this bottle. He's like, "It's 151, locally made, 151 alcohol and scorpion powder that I've fermented for 4 months." And it's this bottle with just brown horribleness, and he gets a coffee stirrer. Goes, "You just have to do a little dab on your tongue. That's it, just a little dab." And then he looks at me, he goes, don't it." And he can barely even talk at this point. He's like, "Don't inhale it because it'll aerate in your mouth. Just put it on your tongue." I did it. I think I saw God. My body was shaking. It was a whole different experience. So I can still handle those things, but it's, long story short, it's hard. And I don't necessarily enjoy that. I don't want to drink mace just for the sake of being able to say, "Look, I did this." Gone are those days. I don't have that kind of bravado anymore.
Well, I think we've all watched enough episodes of Hot Ones to realize that there's products on the market like the Bomb that are just all basically chemicals and not really hot sauce, right? Like they're capsicum extracts that are then, scientifically modified to become these monsters in a bottle. And for me, like maybe younger me would have been into that, but now I want flavor, right? I want the heat. I want a little bit of that head sweat, right? Part of being bald is you get the puddle right here. that
Mine,
starts
you
to
can
drip.
see on the eyebrows, right? It just gets up in here.
Yeah, and I don't want to deal with the agony, but I want flavor. And I'll be honest, man, I haven't had a chance to try the new one, but I did have the Chipotle garlic, the Symptom. I adore it. It reminds me so much of, and it's weird that you say it, but New Orleans. Like the first flavor that came to my mind was wanting to do the grilled oysters with the little bit of cheese that to everybody that hasn't had them or hasn't been to New Orleans goes, you don't put cheese on fish, and then you got to tell them like you've got to try it to get it.
But it's funny you say that. If you go to Shinedown.com/taste of madness where you can buy the sauces, I put recipes up on there, and they're all my recipes. I created them. One of them's charbroiled oysters with the chipotle garlic sauce.
Oh, there you go. All right. So
Yeah,
I was
because
I was on the right path.
yeah, that garlic works so well because they use butter garlic anyway with parm and all that stuff for those oysters. And if you haven't tried them, you're right. It is a delicacy that must be tried.
Yeah. And in the smoke in the Chipotle is perfect, right? Like there's too many Chipotle hot sauces that you can tell it's liquid smoke and not the real deal. And with yours, it's so clean and it's just
Not overpowering smoky to where it's like, oh, I tasted smoke. I hate that.
balance is very important, and I think a lot of people in the hot sauce world forget that sometimes. So kudos to you
Oh, thank
for
you.
really managing that and dialing that in for what I consider to be the perfect garlic hot sauce.
Thank you. Thank you. It was very much intentional because we wanted it to be something that you can put on a lot of things, but also, you know, we're not making competition sauce. We're making sauce for people to eat.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about this hot sauce line is the fact that you're donating some of the proceeds to musicians on call, which for people that don't know is artists like yourself are sometimes asked to come and play for people in hospitals or right like it's in a weird way sort of like a version of Make-A-Wish but for music fans and it doesn't always necessarily have to be children. So it's for me, it's awesome because obviously being in radio, being in the music industry, music's a passion. You being in a Grammy award-winning band that's been at it for over 2 decades, obviously you have passion for music. So being able to tie all these things together and do it in such a generous way, I think speaks volumes again about Shinedown's legacy, about your legacy, and just I don't know. It's like that heartwarming story that you don't expect to hear from a band that's so successful, still continuing to give back. I think there's a lot of young bands that could take a look at the model that you guys have set up in a multitude of ways and follow it. And I really hope some young artists do that because it's man, it's inspiring to know that you guys are quite successful in a way that a lot of people get to that level and don't look back or don't do the charitable things. So for the fact that you guys have gone out of your way to do this, man, it means a lot to a lot of people, myself included.
I appreciate that. It's a passion for us, and I don't mean to overuse that word, but it's the truth. This band likes to give back, and there's been many charities over the course of this career that we've been able to be a part of and help in whatever way we can. And not only is it a good feeling for us, but if you're put in a position like we are with a bigger mouthpiece than most, why wouldn't you give back? Just give back. It's so much easier, and it's a good thing. Yes, you can get into the political world and do all that, but are you giving back? No, you're just creating opinions and creating vitriol and all that kind of stuff. So, and don't. One thing I would say to any younger bands, because you brought that up, um, don't do charity because you want the attention of doing the charity. Don't do it because that's the wrong reason. I'd say 90% of the charities that we have given to and the people we've helped, I'll never talk about because it's nobody's business but them. It's about giving back and being able to do that for somebody. That a lot of times, especially in my industry, you have, other artists, not everybody's making a ton of money. It's a much different world than it was back in the 80s, 90s. And, insurance isn't necessarily a thing that musicians think about. We're dumb artists. And, there's been times where it becomes up a GoFundMe for one of our friends. And you just do it. And you don't say, look what I gave. You do it anonymously. You give when you have the ability to, because hopefully, karmically, it's going to come back to you in some way. And in doing this with musicians on call, to get back to that, it's just a cool thing. You know, nobody wants to end up in the hospital. It's scary. Even if you're doing something positive, like, it's a pregnancy and you're giving birth, that's great. It's still scary. It's still scary as hell. Also, as important, not more importantly, the workers in the hospital, the doctors, the nurses, the staff, the technicians, what a tough job. I know I couldn't do it. Impossible for me. I'm too emotional. I'd lose it within the first week. To be able to do what they do and continue on every single day, helping people to the best of their ability. If we can bring us some joy with some music, or any band, or any artist, whether it's sending a care package in the hospital through this organization to a fan, or showing up in person if you're available to, or it's just being played in a via Spotify or whatever uh in the operating room to help calm somebody down. What else could you do? That's great.
Absolutely, man. Kudos to you on that. I know we're running short on time, but I do want to plug one more time that the sauces are available at shinedown.com/taste of madness. I'll also tell you firsthand that if you just Google Shinedown hot sauce, it takes you right to
Pop
the page. Takes you straight to the page. Barry, congratulations again on the success with the band earlier this year. Another crushing single. Congratulations on this project as well. I look forward to what comes out of your kitchen next, both musically and in the hot sauce world. And I can't thank you enough for your time today. It was absolutely a pleasure getting to chat with you.
It goes both ways. Thank you for taking the time and also supporting this band, because this band was built on radio and it doesn't go unnoticed still to this day. And we're always here for you as much as you are for us. So thank you
We appreciate that, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day.
as well. Take care.